Hi, my name is Mickey Barfield. I'm the producer of Spy, the role-playing game. And today we're going to go over how the game is played, also how character creation is done, and a few other little details about it. So sit back and enjoy, and hopefully I won't bore you too much. But this is an average sample character that's pre-made up, that's already in the game. Okay, next what you have here is you have your attributes. Strength, reflexes, charisma, health, willpower, and intelligence. Now, obviously if you've played a role-playing game before, you know what strength is, or even if you haven't, you know what strength is. If not, perhaps this is your second language. Reflexes is your hand-eye coordination, how quickly you respond to things that need to be responded to. Charisma is not your looks, but more of your personality and how well you win people over and how charming you are. Health, obviously if you're healthy or not healthy. Willpower is your mental fortitude, your ability to resist things like torture, remember small details, interrogation. And finally, intelligence, how smart you are. So they range from 1 through 5, 1 being crappy, 5 being really good. So usually around 2 is your average Joe in the streets. Okay, we have hit points. Again, if you've played a role-playing game before, you know what hit points are. If not, it's a metric to show how much you are together. The more it gets whittled down, the more damaged you become. Once you reach 0, well then you might be meeting the great afterlife. Next we have move, which is measured in yards. This person here, she has 8-yard movement. So if you were using miniatures for some reason, which I like to do, and you can use that for representing in one turn she moves 8 yards. If not, you can just try and keep track of it arbitrarily. Hopefully your GM is good about doing that. I found that some representation showing the movement makes a big difference for combat. Scene points. That's what, now you can use tokens. I like to use these things here, like bullets and grenades. See, kind of nifty. All kinds of fun stuff. But scene points are things you can use to try and help pull your fat out of the fryer. Because let's face it, things are going to go south sooner or later, and helps if you're actually ready for that. Now, one of the things that you can use scene points for is, let's say for example, you roll a really good hit, and you go to roll your damage. And then when you roll your damage, well, you totally crap out, and you get like nothing but snake eyes. And we've all done that before, and it kind of aggravates you. Well, what you can do is you can spend that point to do maximum damage. One of the other things you can spend a point for would be for gaining a +5 to one of your skill checks. We'll get into skill checks here in a minute. But let's say, for example, you miss by a point, and you gotta defuse that bomb, otherwise, kaboom. Well, you spend one of these points here. Let's see, you're not. No bullets, no grenades. Yay! So if I spend one, I get +5 to that skill. The other thing you can use it for is if I want to reduce damage. Now, let's say I got 2 of them here, and this guy really hits me for a lot of damage, and I don't want to take that much damage. Let's say I take 20 points. Ow, that would hurt because she only has 48. When I spend 1, I can cut that damage in half, make it 20. If I want to, I can spend 2 and have it miss me completely. Now, of course, your scene points do run down. She only has 3 starting off with. We'll get into how you earn more in a minute. The other way you can use these points for is altering some minor aspect of the scene. Let's say, for example, the person has come up to a situation where there's a guard at some warehouse. Agent wants to get inside there, it's all tough too, and they want to spend a point and say, you know what, I know that person. I went to high school with them, we were buddies, we were on the football team together, and that person owes me. So the person spends it, GM feels it's appropriate, won't mess up things too much, and kind of an interesting part of the story, so lets them become a storyteller for a short bit. So they allow that, and voila, that's what happens. So that's how scene points are spent. Then we have resource points. Those are points used for trying to gain unusual items. Not a gun or a silencer or tracking devices. We're talking about unusual things. Let's say, for example, it's a wig that can change the length and color of the hair, which helps add to your disguise. That would be unusual or different. There's listed in the book a section for some of the such things, and we'll try and post some more. And if you guys have some great ideas for some, submit them to us and we'll put them up online. Also, we have heal rate, how much you heal normally. Of course, medical training and medical places will actually help accelerate that. Damage bonus. This applies towards melee or hand-to-hand combat. So let's say, for example, Drive Shaft, she punches somebody. She gets a +1 die 3 because she's fairly athletic. Of course, the stronger you are, the more you get. Experience, well, she has no experience right now. She's just an archetype, character here. And reputation. This is your reputation within the intelligence community. It doesn't mean like Sally down the road who's a soccer mom would know who you are. But let's say there's an agent in the Mossad. He might actually have a chance of recognizing who she is, that she works for the factory. So, and reputation can be good or bad. It depends on what you do. And also too, it might depend on your complications. We'll get into that in a minute. And then language, we have what we call language fluency points. Now, there's no point in keep rolling for your language each time you want to try and speak a language. Either you know it or you don't know it, or you're okay at it. So we've broken it down into a level of 1 through 4. 1 meaning you can say a few words and just barely get by. 2 means you can speak it. It's pretty broken up, but you can speak it fairly well. And 3 means you speak it well, you just have an accent. It's obvious that you are not, that person who's fluent in that language, but it's not your native language. And 4 means you could pass for a native. So in her case here, she has obviously English as her primary, which is 4, Italian 4, and Spanish at 4. So she's really good at all 3 of those. So she could pass for a native with any of those. Okay, next we have skills. Let me move all these little luck tokens to these right now. Okay. Alright, class, can you see? Yay, you can see. Okay. Alright, so we have what we call a difference in skills. Most skills are met and measured in one metric and one metric only. We do things a little different just because we had to be different. We have what we call level of learning and practical usage. And your level of learning obviously is how well educated you are in it, whether you're a novice, whether you're intermediate or advanced. And practical use is how often you use it. Do you use it casually, intermittent, or frequent? And the way we measure that out is these 2 different ways here. You have your die type, which would be D6, which means a 6-sided dice. Okay. Or it could be a D8 or a D10. This, let me move over here so you can see them all, because they're so pretty. This represents your different levels of education. Okay. So you're learning novice, intermediate, and advanced. Now the practical use knowledge comes in how many dice you're tossing. Okay, let's say for example with Drive Shaft here, she has brawling at 2 die 6. Okay, so that means I'm going to use 2 6-sided dice to roll. And we have here, we also have, I'm going to put this over here. So you see this. This here is our resolution chart. So the GM determines if it's an easy task, average, challenging, tough, or extreme. And let's say in this case here, well, let's switch it up because it really shouldn't be brawling because that's a different thing here. So scratch that, I apologize. Let's use instead, let's go for drive motor vehicle, which is 2 die 10, which means she really rocks out on that, okay? So we'll use these two. Okay, so let's say, for example, going back to this chart here, okay, and let's say, for example, the GM is called for something tough. She's trying to do a two-wheel turn, which actually is going to be a tough, which will be 12 or better. Yikes. Okay, so she has to get 12 or better. So she does have D10s already in the skill. Still, what you're doing is you're taking your practical usage, which is 2 die 10, which means she uses it, pretty frequently. Okay. No, I'm sorry, it's motorcycle. Drive car is 3 die 10. Wow, I am really screwing up this morning. Okay, 3 die 10 she rolls, so she's using it all the time. Of course she is going to. She's a driver, and she's really well educated. So 3 die 10. So you roll those, and try and get them all on the screen here. Okay, and she has a 6. The 6 is her highest one. These two get swept. The difference is with the practical usage, obviously the more you do something, the easier it is for you to jump into it and do it. Thus, the multiple dice. If you were unskilled at it, or not as unskilled, but don't use it as often, you would only roll 1 dice. In this case here, well, she would roll pretty good at 8. But it represents your ability and your chance of actually hitting your target numbers you need to more frequently because you use it more. You use it less, it's kind of hit and miss because you don't use it so often. But in her case here, I rolled 3 dice, I got a 6. And then what you do is you add your corresponding attribution. In her case here, it would be reflexes of 4. So she got 4 plus her drive car of, we rolled a 6, okay? So she did, just fall short, like, well, crap. Of course, I gave her, a really hard task. Now, we can go into here as far as her talents. One of the things she has, as far as her talents, we'll move that up here, okay. She has stunt driver. Driver gains +3 to skill when attempting a special maneuver. Well, I'd say doing a 2-wheel turn is a special maneuver. So she got +3 on top of that. So she got 6 plus a 4 makes it 10, +3 makes it 13. GM gave her a really hard task of 12. She got 13, therefore she succeeds. It's a little weird at first, I know, but we found that people really responded well to the detail as far as having your level of education and your practical usage. And you can raise these up throughout gameplay with experience on either level. So let's say, for example, you don't use a skill that often, but you're moderate at it. You'd like to have more dice to toss. You can actually up that. Or you want to up your level of education, where you can up your die type, you can do that. So, now in another case here, let's say, for example, let's do a different one here. And focus back on this here, okay. See, we can see, yay. Okay, let's say, for example, she's got to do first aid. Okay, now let's do something different. Let's do fast talk, okay? Fast talk. Can you even see that? Fast talk, here we go. She has 1 die 8 in it. So, the D8 represents she's intermediate at it. She does it, so-so. And 1 means she doesn't do it too often, okay? Now in this case here, let's say she's dealing with some real rube here who's a security guard who's getting paid minimum wage here. We'll say it's an average task, okay? He has a 7 or better for his task, she has a 7 or better for her task. So for fast talk, as a D8, I roll that, and I get an 8. Let's show it on the screen here. Yay, an 8. Obviously she succeeds, doesn't even add in her attribute yet, which would be a 3, okay, for her charisma. So that makes an 11.